Hello, good afternoon everyone, and thank you for coming for our presentation on a case study of cross-community collaboration. My name is Nishant Kumar. I work for Ericsson and I am one of the core members and a working committee member for Airship project. And I have with me today.
And I'm Casper Skels, and I'm also been working with Airship, part of the Airship working committee as well, and a little bit of OPNFV as well that this talk will be focusing on.
Okay, let's get started. So here is the agenda for today. I'm going to talk mostly about Airship and how Airship is leveraging the projects which not only falls under the OpenStack umbrella but also outside of it. And then Casper is going to talk about the OpenNFV community and how Airship has been collaborating with OpenNFV since the beginning. So first, a brief introduction about Airship. Airship is a collection of loosely coupled but interoperable open source tools that declaratively automates cloud provisioning. Within Airship, containers are the primary mechanism of delivery, and Airship takes in a declarative approach. That means you define a collection of documents that defines a site, and those documents could contain your Kubernetes manifest, your bare metal provisioning information, your network information, what software stack you want to deploy, either OpenStack or something else, and then you push these documents via the front door API for Airship, which is Shipyard, and then Shipyard drives in the complete provisioning of your site, and then based on what position you are in the deployment phase, Shipyard and the workflow is going to interact with different components. For example, we have the dry dock component for bare metal provisioning. We have Armada component for deploying a software stack. So all in all, Airship gives you an ability for a one-touch approach on automating your cloud provisioning. So talking about Airship 2.0 in the context of this particular talk, I think Airship 2.0 fits in really well in terms of the plans that we have for Airship 2.0 and the projects that we are leveraging from upstream and from different communities from CNCF, Kubernetes as well. So let's try to understand something about Airship 2.0. So first, why did we feel the need for evolving from Airship 1.0 to Airship 2.0? The primary reasons were that we wanted to adopt entrenched upstream project. So with Airship 1.0, when we started development a couple of years back, we didn't have those upstream projects which could really meet our requirements. Therefore, we had to develop some of the sub projects within Airship which were more specific, and we did not have any upstream projects related to that. But in the past 2 years, the Kubernetes community, the cloud community has evolved a lot, and we have projects which could really meet our requirements. And also in terms of utilizing the competencies in Airship 1.0, if you had to start contributing, there was a bit of learning curve. But with Airship 2.0, since we are leveraging different upstream projects, people who want to contribute can bring in their own competencies within Airship and start contributing from the scratch. One of the other reasons was that building Airship YAML was hard. So with Airship 1.0, we had some really Airship specific documents like the Pegleg documents, Armada documents, and the Deckhand documents. But going on with Airship 2.0, we are eliminating the need for Airship specific document, and we are moving towards Kubernetes CRDs and CRs, and we are going to leverage these to build any Airship custom documentation. And then supporting smaller deployments. So in Airship 1.0, we had some components which were really like long-lived API processes which lived in the site, and and we didn't really have the need for them, so that they had to live in the site. And it really made Airship heavy and bulky. But with Airship 2.0, we are again eliminating the need for these long-running API services, and we would be depending only on the services which would make Airship a bit lighter. That means we would at least want the basic infrastructure to be in place, just like the Kubernetes cluster itself is up. And this would really enable us for the edge use cases for smaller deployments, because usually in the edge use cases, the deployments are really resource constrained. So with Airship 2.0, we are planning for much more smaller deployments. And changing the tires while the car is moving is really hard. So this is really specific to one of the workflow choices that we took with Airship 1.0. One of the components that we used was Airflow, and oftentimes during the upgrade process, we realized that how do you upgrade the upgrader itself, and it was not really a seamless process. So with Airship 2.0, we did a careful analysis of some different upstream projects, and we have chosen a more cloud-native workflow solution, which I'm going to talk about later. And again, workflow should be fully declarative. So as I said, Airship did take a complete declarative approach, but in terms of workflows, we were not really fully declarative. We had workflows which were really built into the containers, and that was really one of the rigid implementations. But with Airship 2.0, we are going to be fully declarative. So you define in your YAML files what the workflow is going to look like, and that's how we are going to generate DAGs based on the YAML documents. So here are a few components that we are going to leverage for Airship 2.0. One of them is Airship CTL. So Airship CTL is going to be our Go module, and this is going to produce a single Go binary called Airship CTL, and this is going to be your one-stop command line interface to interact with your site, to ingest document, to site deployment, site updation, for validation, testing. This is going to be the CLI component which is going to live external to the region, and you're going to interact with this Airship CTL. And then apart from this, we have other components like Customize. So Customize is a Kubernetes project. So again, this is an example of how we are leveraging projects which are not just falls under the OpenStack umbrella, but outside of it as well. So Customize is one of the projects for document configuration, and this is one of the popular tools that we are planning to use. And this is going to be a replacement for Deckhand as compared to Airship 1.0. And then we are also leveraging Kubernetes cluster API. So in Airship 2.0 for bare metal provisioning, cluster API is the project that we would be using. So cluster API is again used for cluster creation, deletion, upgradation, and complete life cycle management. And cluster API, we are going to integrate Ironic with it, and we have kubeadm integration as well. And then we are using Argo. So this is one of the workflow component that we're going to use for Airship 2.0. This is a much more cloud native approach that we're taking, and it is again another upstream project in Kubernetes that we are leveraging for Airship 2.0. And then we have Helm, V3, and Armada. So Armada is one of the components for Airship 1.0, which really fits in well even in Airship 2.0. It's one of the really popular projects that is being used in the OpenStack community. Apart from that, we are going to support CNF, and we are going to integrate Multus, which is again a multi-networking concept for within the pod itself. So as you can see from the approach that we're taking in Airship 2.0, we have a number of projects which we are collaborating with upstream community, and we're not only building within Airship, but we're also trying to contribute to this project, and this really demonstrates that how Airship in the future is going to be more collaborative in terms of different projects outside the Open Infra and OpenStack community. So again, these are some of the components that I was talking about earlier. Talking about building the community, Airship really believes in following the 4 Open's governing principles, and that is the open source, open development, open community, and it adheres to the OpenStack Foundation Community Code of Conduct, and it also the Airship code is distributed under the Apache 2 license. So we do have weekly meetings and discussions that are held in public open forums. We have Open Dev IRC meetings that is held every week. We have Jira meetings, and then we have 2 open design meetings. Apart from that, we have divided our team into 3 different SIGs. So based on the Airship 2.0 architecture discussions, there are 3 SIG meetings that happens every week, and every people's feedback is taken in those calls. So Airship representation has been in the industry for the past 2 years. We have attended 4 open infrastructure summits and 4 PTGs. We have had 4 community meetups, and this time around we are going to be in KubeCon as well. And this is the all-time metrics. We have 4,063 commits in 25 repos, and then we have 203 authors representing 20 plus companies. So here's a list of companies and projects that were the early adopters for Airship. So SK Telecom and AT&T were the founder for Airship, and then there were other companies which over the time have joined, like Mirantis. Starling X is one of those projects which is using our Armada component for deploying their software stack. And then we're also collaborating with CNTT and OPNFV. And then Acreno Edge Stack is also one of the project which is using Airship for its blueprint. And then we have Ericsson, which is really contributing upstream Airship into upstream Airship 2.0 initiatives. So now I'll hand it over to Kaspers, who's going to talk about OPNFV.
Thank you. Yeah, so talking about OPNFV community or OPNFV, so a little bit about it. Open Platform for NFV is a project and community that facilitates a common NFVi, continuous integration with upstream projects, standalone testing toolsets, and a compliance and verification program for industry-wide testing and integration to accelerate transformation of enterprise and service provider networks. OPNFV is also is open to anyone, whether you're an employee or a member company or just passionate about network transformation. So similar to Airship, OPNFV is then directly and indirectly contributing or collaborating with many of the projects. So you can see many of the projects in there. You can also see Airship and other projects in directly with OpenStack or indirectly different technologies. The next initiative, Common NFVi Framework. So that's initiative that is really driving standardization. So Common NFVi Framework is a set of documents consisting of global NFVi reference model, reference architecture, and also global virtual network function certification lifecycle. There has been now a lot of work put into and reference model 2.0 is already released, and that is the highest level, talking about NFVi abstraction, such as NFVi metrics and capabilities, infrastructure catalog, software and hardware profiles, verification requirements, and test frameworks. This is more along the lines of certification for NFVs. Status there is that there's lots of SME feedback right now. That means really that first blueprints are there, and then people have a way to give their feedback. And then reference architecture, one of the first ones that is published is OpenStack based. That is then specifies the architecture that's based on reference model principles and addresses basic networking, intensive host profiles, basic storage capabilities, basic networking capabilities. And this is really very early stages, so some of the content is published and is still being very actively developed. And now we can talk about Airship-enabled Common NFVi in OPNFV. So Airship then been releasing a project to provide Airship-based infrastructure deployment of lifecycle management, then to deploy and manage lifecycle of NFVi according to industry models. So those were the ones that we were talking just before. Support VNF testing and verification on top of Common NFVi. So this project was launched in May 31st, 2019, and approved by the OPNFV Technical Steering Committee on July 2nd. So the plan for this project is to participate in OPNFV Iraya release, so that's coming up in December. And same as the others, this is an open community, so Airship-enabled Common NFVi has 9 committers from 7 companies and additional 19 contributors from 7 companies. The status of the project right now, so we have a deployment reference for the OPNFV community lab. So those are a couple of Pharos specification labs right now that are deployed with Airship. There's Airship installer deployment guide, so there's a documentation to deploy Airship-enabled system. Integration with the OPNFV CI/CD pipeline and FunkTest testing gating. So FunkTest one is the OPNFV certification test framework, so you can see some screenshot in the next slide. see a screenshot here with different tests and deployment in the very top of there. As well as there's very active collaboration with common infrastructure and realization verification, which is part of the common NFVi, to then use Airship for common NFVi. A little about more technical details to the way Airship ties into Airship OPNFV installer. So these two boxes represent basically two repositories. So in Airship we have our global reference manifest, or treasure map that defines global type and site layers. So those are different layers of a configuration for the site deployment, as well as Airship OPNFV, then repositories that then relies and ties or inherits the treasure map repository globals and provides the new type and site specific configuration. And PegLeg is one of the Airship components that ties those two together, and there's a little bit of a code snippet how it looks in practice. Yeah, that's our presentation. So we have mailing lists for Airship discussed, as well as OPNFV technical discussions. So any questions?
Yeah, I think mostly we try to first do in our architecture discussion, we try to first research what our use case is, what our requirement is. So as I was suggesting in Airship 1.0, again, we had some options that there are some projects, but it usually sometimes what happens is those projects really do not support our requirements or our use cases. But then this time around, again, we thought we do not want to reinvent the wheel. So why not leverage other upstream projects? And in terms of we just do not take the code in. We instead try to interact with them. If you have any questions, if you have suggestions, we give back to their community. We attend their calls as well, and we see if we are aligned with their approach too, and try to use as much as possible. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.